All right, so welcome back to us live with you today. A little different today. We're coming to you here at noon Eastern time, a little different than our normal 3 o'clock that we've been trying to stick on. Kind of curious if you guys want us to do a noon or 3, so drop some comments on that. My name is Paul Barron. Welcome back to TechPath. Today we're going to jump into Ripple, of course, and the late breaking news that we saw yesterday, and that is Ripple launching a creator fund for NFTs. Big news from the house of Ripple, and I think this is going to be one that we really need to take a look at because it's a little bit more than it looks like on the surface. I want to jump to this story. Basically, it was their press release center calling all creators. Ripple launches their $250 million creator fund. They announced this as part of the Apex, the XRP Ledger, XRPL Developer Summit. This fund fosters innovation in tokenization, with a focus, of course, on NFTs, and the fund will provide a targeted support for creators, brands, etc., to explore new use cases for NFTs on XRPL, the ledger. This is kind of interesting in the sense that you've got XRP launching this. This is very intriguing, the timing behind this, because with a creator network, you need to have creators fully vested into the network itself. Some of the things that are probably holding back some of our own investors in investing in XRP is the fact that we've got this SEC scenario going on, and I think with Ripple, they may face some of that with the developer community. Is that something that the developer community might say, let's rethink about this? Would they look past that and just see the technology of the ledger just being so much more superior, that this just seems like the logical step? Or would they be a little bit more cautious and say, hey, maybe we should go develop on Solana, or let's go over here and do something on Avalanche or something like that? Could happen, but timing is very interesting here. So is this a little bit of a leading indicator that there might be something in the coming months or days for XRP and the SEC case to free Ripple from kind of these chains and shackles for development and things of that nature? I want to further on into their release here, solving NFT pain points. They talk a little bit about how many creators are still hesitant to engage with NFTs because of the technical concerns for many of their platforms. The other thing that is really going to come in, what they're going to try to do is alleviate the challenges and provide financial and creative and also technical support that's going to be needed for a lot of these developers, and financial and co-marketing support, which will be a big thing. Again, if Ripple gets free of this SEC situation, I think we could see a lot of this really ramp up very quickly and really open up what I think would be just a plethora of developers flocking to the platform. Technical support for superior NFT experience built on XRP Ledger. The creative support, they're going to go through some agency partners on that. The marketplace, which is MintNFT and Mintable, will also integrate with XRPL to develop a seamless NFT experience for developers. And our premier agency partners, which is VSA Partners, also has signed into the initiative to help the creator and brand clients create and sell their own NFTs. So it's kind of a turnkey product when you think about it. You've got Mintable, you've got the agency tied into it, you've got aspects around all of this that are moving into the developer side of it, which is the technical side on the ledger that you're going to really have to do. And I want to hear your questions. If you were sitting down with Brad Garlinghouse or the Ripple team right now, what would be some of the things you would want answered? Because maybe this is a way for us to get a big megaphone out there to XRP, because there's a lot here in terms of this strategy and what it means. Hit us in the comments, drop us a super chat. Let's take a look at some of the people and what you guys are really interested in to understand what's happening in this space. Or would you rather Ripple just stay on the side of the finance side of the business and really let the NFT side continue on its down? I'm just kind of curious, do you think this is a good move or a moderate move by Ripple, or are they just jumping on the NFT bandwagon around what's happening in many of these other emerging chains? Interesting to hear. I want to hear from you guys. None of this, though, is possible without the XRP Ledger. This open source decentralized blockchain supports tokenization of any asset, including NFTs, clear set of existing and proposed NFT standards. It delivers a seamless NFT experience. that offers creators a powerful way to monetize their works. I'm interested in how this might roll out on any of the platforms and how they are are they going to create a platform, or are they going to plug into some of these and look at a cross-chain engagement, some sort of bridge, those kind of things that will come up, I think, in terms of how this gets deployed. Further, XRP's consensus mechanism powers low-cost transactions, because that's what they're doing right now, compared to the huge fees sometimes required on other blockchains, they mean Ethereum. Carbon neutral, big deal, and up to 120,000 times more efficient than leading proof-of-work blockchains. The XRP ledger is going to provide developers with a very unique capability to run a very sustainable NFT app and marketplace. So it looks to me like this is truly, in essence, what Solana has been trying to do with their ecosystem, what Avalanche has done with Rush and their ecosystem in this really ramp-up phase of what we've seen in this NFT race. So I think that what we have here is just the beginning of a big, big rush toward an NFT dominance. And that might mean which chain or which group of chains are going to have the most impact on the market. And I really want to get your thoughts on whether or not you think this is going to make a dent. When you look at something that is as adopted as Ethereum, or you look at something as fast as Solana, or something that has so much innovation like Avalanche. And I'd love to get your feedback and kind of hear what you guys think about this. I want to jump to Mintable, which is the company that they're partnering with, and this will paint up a little bit. Any creation into an item on the blockchain, I like this in the essence of Mintable being a big partner. This is a good deal, and I think, again, it goes back to my point. This is a real player in the NFT space, meaning Mintable. And you look at what Garlinghouse is doing from a strategic standpoint. His biz dev guys are absolutely killing it over at Ripple. And you've got Mintable plugged into this. It just seems like it's a natural fit. There's too many big players. I mean, it seems like they're telling us something without telling us something. So this means to me that we might have something brewing in the near future with getting this SEC situation moved over. And I just want to kind of jump to an article here that says Ripple is going to grow predictably once it beats the SEC. This is their statement. And I still think that a lot of people look at this as a two-parted part of a strategy. One part of the strategy is we need to take the SEC and win for the crypto community and, you know, all that kumbaya stuff. I don't think that's really going to be the case. I don't think they go to trial. I think this is going to get settled. They have too many of these things going on, too many of these partnerships that really require a little bit of clarity in the future of Ripple. Even though Ripple's future is not diminished in any way, they need some clarity because it really opens up the pipeline, especially on the developer side, going back to the NFT drop. The developers, many of them, they don't know as much in terms of depth of how this affects their business, but what they do know is they've got to build on a platform that's going to affect the future of their company or their project. And that, I think, is going to be very important. And when you look at this little piece right here, Ripple CEO Brad Garlinghouse says he's open to settling the landmark XRP case. So this was just a few days ago. So I think a lot of people looked at some of the tweets that were out there and some of that, you know, just general posturing and pumping up your chest type approach. Remember, all of this is and are negotiation tactics. In a legal case that they're fighting tooth and nail, motion after motion, motion after motion at a federal level, and you have a judge that's probably tiring of what's happening. They're getting a little bit out of the rails and kind of, in an essence, stalling. And I think that is where this is boiling. Now, what I want to ask you, and maybe you guys can answer this, I've been analyzing this 15 ways around it. Why are they stalling? Why is this taking so long? And that is a big question that I think a lot of people have put a lot of thought into. And many people still think this settlement's coming, or was going to come in September. Clearly, we're not going to get a settlement on the last day of September. Maybe we will, but I doubt it. And many are kind of pushing it into October. I still feel like this might be more towards the end of the year just because of the way that the federal court system moves. But when two sides can come to an arrangement, give a little, take a little type thing, things can move pretty fast. And that is something strategically, whether you're on the negotiating table, I think it boils down to who's willing to give something up and who's willing to step forward. And in this article, he kind of alludes to this. So he basically said, hey, listen, in an interview, this was with Fox Business, he said, we'd be willing to settle with the SEC if the regulator clearly defines the regulatory status of XRP. So he's putting out a little bit of a caveat here that says you have to be able to give us free rein to be not classified as a security. Now, if they don't classify, and in some cases they look at Ethereum and say it's not a security, so they could pick and choose certain projects based on the functionality of the project and say, yeah, that's not a security, we're going to put that one off the books, and still be able to go out and execute on all the other, bazooka shots that they're going to take into the crypto space. So the fact, I think he's trying to secure the position for where XRP is going, and also Ripple, and how this really works. To the context that we can find, this is back to the article, to the context extent that we can find a constructive path forward with the SEC, of course we want to find that. There's no scenario through what we're going to settle unless there's an absolute certainty about what XRP is on a go-forward basis. So he is very, very committed on that aspect. It's very clear that Ripple is using these technologies. How many scores of other people in the community are using these technologies? They're not securities. They do not represent an ownership in Ripple, the company. And again, that's the same, scenario. Garlinghouse also says that the crypto industry is already significantly regulated, despite recent statements by the SEC chair that the space is a Wild West. And he hits on this. I've talked about this many times before, is that the CFTC is involved. You've got regulatory bodies that have already put out regulations that you have in terms of raising capital, all those aspects. And if you look back to this, you lose sight of the fact that crypto is regulated. It's regulated by the CFTC, Commodities Futures and Trading Commission. It's regulated by other government entities, and also whether it's FinCEN, which is the Financial Crimes Network, that's going to be for the scammers that are out there, which they're already doing in all the money laundering deals and things of that nature. And then also by the US Treasury. So when you look at the SEC, people kind of say, hey, this is a Wild West. In reality, and the argument I always make, is it's not truly the Wild West. It's like the internet. Sure, you have to refine certain regulations. It's kind of what Section 230 did, and helping the internet grow and fostering that technology so that it could move to the next level. That's exactly where blockchain is. Sure, there is going to be some clarity, but regulatory aspects, I think a lot of those are out of the way. Now, sure, there's going to be always the question of, does a project pass the Howey test? Is it a security? Is it a commodity? Is it something else? That's something new that could be looked at very closely, and maybe there's some modifications there on that aspect that could really kind of move it into that. So it's just something to keep an eye on. I think the key here is that the news being the NFT launch here of really the partnership to really kind of lure in the developers is the bigger picture here. The deal with Mintable, the deal with the fact that they're putting 250 that's not chump change. That's a good amount of investment to put into a developer community, at least in the beginning. And I think that could grow very quickly once that we start to see this happen. And that's why I feel like there's something happening in the XRP front that is really leaning toward a settlement, and a settlement coming possibly very soon. And I hope that we see this in a situation prior to what we're going to see in terms of a bull run and kind of how that all comes together. Just as a reminder that you guys don't know, and I'm sure you do know if you're following this space, Avalanche is also launching on Coinbase Pro today. So they, being AVAX, another big platform that is moving in this same strategy. And just imagine that headline right there. I just want you to bask in that glory for a minute if that said XRP is launching on Coinbase Pro today, because that's exactly what we're going to see when this thing starts to move. It's going to be a race for many of these exchanges to really move on XRP and get it going. I kind of wonder if who would be the first. I'm kind of curious. Which one do you think would be the first to relist XRP and absolutely unleash the Kraken? Maybe that is the one. Unleash the Kraken on the crypto community and really open up and all that. As a reminder, we have some pretty cool stuff coming here on the Paul Barron Network and Tech Path, and that is a project that we've been working on for quite some time called the Diamond Circle. Now, the Diamond Circle is very simple. It is going to be a member-only community that is free to you to sign up. You have to jump to our website, paulbarronnetwork.com. It is not available right now. It will be available on October 7th. So if you're watching this in the future, there's going to be a link below. If you're in the future, it'll be a link below. If not, if you're watching it right now on the live, we will have links for you dropping into all of our videos. So no matter where you land within the network, you're going to get a link to the Diamond Circle where you can go join fully free. And the cool thing is we're going to drop a cool set of features and benefits to you. First and foremost is we're going to give you member-only content on our proprietary data analysis tools that we use internally within the real Diamond Circle of looking at tokens, projects, and social and consumer sentiment around all of this space in a big way. So you'll see extended content versus what we do on our typical token analysis that you probably see a lot of us do a ton if you're watching the channel much. And you're also going to get access to some discounts on some courses that we'll be dropping. You're going to get access to a special email, and eventually a Discord group will be there as well, where you'll be able to communicate with me and our analysts on an ongoing basis. People will be dropping in and out of that. That's going to be fun. It's coming in the months ahead. But best of all, it's going to be giving back drops to you guys, and that means digital assets, everything from tokens, IDOs, NFTs. We're going to be rewarding digital assets back to you, our community, for helping us do the deed. And that is, and if you kind of look at where we are right now, we are clicking along at over 110,000 of you out there. You've helped this network grow so fast. And guess what? The hammer is down now. We are growing at a rate that's unbelievable, and it's all because of you. And because of that, that's the Diamond Circle. You're going to be able to get right into it, and it's going to start rewarding you back. So let's jump to some questions. We'll get into the Q&A. Hopefully we can answer a few things that are going to be jumping at us. All right, let's go with Richard B. All right, when is the time to enter XRP for those of who have not jumped in yet, now or closer to trial deadline? Richard, you know, this is not financial advice, of course. I can tell you what I've done. What I've done is I entered XRP every time it nears $1. I buy more. It's down in the early 90-cent range, so in my opinion, I'm still buying more. So I see that as a big opportunity. I would wish that I could have gotten back in, but we're not there. The likelihood is SEC folds out if this is in the bear run. This is a 5x minimum. I really believe there's so much pent-up demand and price suppression happening. This one's going to run, I think, and it's going to run in a big way. And plus, with the amount of, granted, I'll bet you that Carlinghouse and his team of business development people have a ton of what they call pocket listings in the real estate business, is they stick those deals inside their coat vest and say, we're waiting for the day because we know that day's coming. And then bam, they hit the industry with absolutely an avalanche, much like that avalanche did, dropping project after project, deal after deal, partnership after partnership. That, I think we might be at the beginning of that here with where we're going with NFTs. All right, let's take a look. Okay, Louis Mazzulo, do you have any idea when Coinbase will start trading? Okay, so that's real simple. SEC has got to be done. Coinbase is not going to relist this while the SEC activity is in place. There's just too many legal ramifications. So now the question is, will Coinbase be the first one to open this up? That would be my question, because that's where you need to have an account ready, and you need to have some dry powder to be ready to go in on this if you're not already buying over there, because that's going to get the Coinbase pop for those. Let's also look at another one. Here's a good one from Charles David Jarvis. SEC stalling for big institutional American investors. In the new law in the U.S. The new law in the US to tax 40% retroactive, and then gates will open to the SEC. I think you're talking about the tax increase from the Biden plan. Has not been passed yet. He's also saying that the SEC will open ETF. If ETFs start to move, Coinbase, of course, is going to just launch. And I agree with you there, Charles David, a little bit on some of those things. Big institutions, SEC could, okay, if you are a conspiracy theorist, could there be some connections? Listen, there is definitely an old boys club, good old boys club in DC. And those good old boys are connected to the good old boy banks. And those good old boy banks are connected to the good old boys major investment houses. Sure, all of that could be having a play. It could be the stalling factor that's waiting for the downtrodden of retail investors exhausted from this bear push against the bull market to drop XRP and all these other tokens so they get entry points. Yes, we talk about that on the show a lot. There is speculation that points to this. A lot of people still point at this market, among many others, that manipulation is real. You as an investor, listen, you guys are doing the right thing. Today, you're doing the right thing. The number one thing you can do is educate yourself in a big way. Read, watch as many videos as you can from all the channels out there. I'll drop some of the best channels out there. You should check out James at Invest Answers. He's going to give you the real dope. You can check out my friend Rob over at Digital Assets, Digital Asset News. Great guy, is definitely giving you the real stuff. Get yourself out around some of this community and understand what's happening, because the onslaught of news and information can sometimes be a little bit overwhelming. These channels will help break that down for you, and they're going to help you kind of move to the next level, and that's the big one. All right, Omar Saberi, any thoughts on Polygon? I still hold Polygon right now. Matic is a good holding for myself, not investment advice. My plan, Omar, is to do this. I'm going to ladder out of Polygon as it moves. I do think Polygon is going to get a pop. I think we're going to see a 2 to 3x pop on Polygon. My plan is to ladder out and hold some at the end, probably around 20 to 25%. So that's my plan personally. All right, so how long have you held XRP? 58 cents is my number. There you go, Josh. 58 cents. Question 1, XRP or 3, HBAR. This is coming from Cash Money. Cash Money, XRP or HBAR. HBAR is a really interesting project. I know a lot of people hate on it, and there are things within it that have some question marks still, but it is an interesting chain to look at. I would do your research on HBAR, and we have a video with Mance Harmon, who is their CEO. Mance gave some insights in that video that were very intriguing. I would go back to that video here on the network and watch it. Watch it maybe twice, because he dropped some very interesting statements, which of course he then alluded to had we only been paying attention, and we were, is he dropped some statements in there that ended up rolling out where HBAR got a big pump with some announcements that came on later. And that's something that we do here on the show a lot. And that is, we get these CEOs, sometimes you have to read between the lines. John Wu, good example, not the director. John Wu, the president and CEO of Ava Labs, Avalanche. We talked with John way early in the project. We identified some big sentiment moves on it, and we thought Avalanche was eventually going to be something huge. And where is it today? Of course, it's now flying. It's getting ready to be listed on Coinbase. So lots of kudos out to AVAX, because they are kicking it. All right, Michael A. UK, SEC stalling, possible reason is losing SWIFT sanctions. That's a good one, Michael. Functionality because of XRP. SWIFT is an old system, Michael. I'm not so sure that the banking system wouldn't be happy that SWIFT would go away, because if you think about transaction speed, SWIFT is, sure, there's some intricacies with SWIFT, and their tentacles are tied into the European central banks pretty deeply, but they've been really being tested, especially as the global community has started to move a lot more funds, not necessarily just in crypto, but just in this explosion of growth that we've seen economically across all these different countries. SWIFT actually slows things down a little bit for them, and I believe they actually might be, and which is why XRP is doing so many deals they're actually, I think, welcoming this. I think they're waiting in the wings right now, going, man, just licking my chops of how fast I can move dollars, because money and time makes more money. So if you get that money into an asset reserve quick enough to where it can act on something quick enough, you're talking about hundreds of millions, maybe trillions that are moving in these kind of scenarios from country and sovereign nation to sovereign nation. Those kind of things will blow your mind of how these countries are moving assets around. And that's when you get into the global dollar and these reserve currencies, including the digital yuan. Watch a lot of our videos on that, of how that plays into this global financial system. So big stuff there. Let's go. Banks to adopt, let's go with Bob Hayes. Great to see you back, Bob. Banks to adopt Bitcoin or XRP first. XRP will be the first to adopt, without a doubt. Bitcoin is, there's going to be a whole lot of things that have to happen there. I know Lightning is a great, it's a great layer 2 that really enables a lot of that transaction, but it's just, adopt it in the way of use case. To answer your question, Bob, use case, definitely XRP. Adopt it in the way of investment strategy for their customers. Bitcoin definitely will be in the first, if not the first few that are offered out there. All right, so much more. All right, so XRP Joe, great to see you back. XRP Joe, NFTs are going to be so much more than we can see right now. You are exactly right. You are exactly right. This is an early day. I call this Bitcoin 2013. For the NFT crowd out there, this is Bitcoin 2013. Go back and look at your charts. See where Bitcoin was priced at 2013. And now look at NFTs in the same way. Put your mindset in NFTs. Be ready for some wild rides. Be ready for some drops. Be ready for some people's hating on it and saying it's dead, it will never come back. And then bask in the glory, baby. Bask in the glory, because it's coming. It's coming fast. All right, so we've got another one here. Odd socks. All right, so this is a good one. Nothing wrong with expanding into the NFT space, just needs to be done right. OpenSea and Mintable are like a charity shop, and 99% rubbish. Great side with great artists. Okay, I like that. I like that thinking, Odd Socks, in the sense that there are going to be marketplaces that eventually become the Amazons, sure. But you need a whole lot of these to be able to figure out who's going to become the Amazon. Remember, Amazon was selling books, and this guy was a no-name, and nobody believed in it, and nobody thought it would ever be anything in terms of e-commerce. Look what happened there. And look how fast it moved into electronics, and then moved into household goods, and then literally decimated the retail industries. Could that happen with a major marketplace like an OpenSea if they redefine what they're doing and get really narrow? Possibly. But the fact that this is so open, there's going to be some innovators here I think you have to watch. Watch some of our NFT videos, because we've been dropping quite a few. We just got another founder group on a company that I think you need to take a look at, and that is Recur, and they're coming fast, so be on the lookout for Recur. Let's take a look at another one happening, Anius blockchain. Okay, so let's talk about this one. Think, make decisions. Tokenization of art is already happening through Anius blockchain, which is ASH. Don't know much about that one, but I will say this, that we do see tokenization, I think, of all things. One of the big areas I think we'll see tokenization really start to excel. And probably later this year, we'll see some startups. Be on the lookout here. We've got some research going on this, and that is real estate. Real estate is going to play a big role in the evolution of tokenization, and maybe NFTs. We've also seen real world goods moving into this with things that are happening like over on 4K. 4K is another NFT platform you got to watch. Watch our video on this, because we do a rundown on NFT real world companies that you should be watching out for, because they're going to be playing a big role in this space as we move on. We're going to try to get out of here because I've got some crazy things going on today. By the way, we're moving studios. We are going to be moving studios and having an amazing new studio with some really cool features in it that you guys are going to see a lot more sets, just lots coming at you doing that. So let's go, okay. Let's go to this one, which I think is a good one, November 12th. All right, so Crypto Carter, November 12th is the end of expert discovery. This is a good point. So Judge Netburn has to start deciding on what's going to play out. That is unless the parties settle first. So that's a good catch right here. And again, these are the reasons that we love our community, is they pull these little nuggets out of the eco space and they pull it into the channel. This is why we love you guys so much. You guys are, that's why you're family. You're family. And don't forget, Diamond Circle, family. November 12th is the end of the expert witnesses and the expert discovery. And when that happens, it's kind of like, well, we're kind of done now, everyone. We've got everything we need. Everybody's found what they can. Now we're going to go to trial. That's the typical scenario of a federal case. And with that being the case, you've got a situation that there's a date on a calendar here. November 12th, date on a calendar, which goes back to my point, is that we could see this kind of moving out quickly on some things happening maybe in October or definitely in early November, because I don't think they would want to be down to the deadline and wasting all of that Judge Netburn's time on that, which is another problem that happens in the federal court system. All right, I think we're going to wrap it for today. Again, just a big reminder and just a big shout outs to everybody. SkyAce007, thank you so much. Haran Moose, good job. Adrian Julian, Richard B. Sorry we didn't get to CKB. I did look at that, by the way, Richard, and we're going to try to maybe do something on that one. And Michelle Xavier, definitely watch more of our XRP because we do a lot on that toward what our predictions are and watching the movement of the market. Again, we do our movement analysis based on our proprietary technology we've been building for 8 years, and prior to Bitcoin. And we've been building because we were using it in other places, and we've adapted that code and that algorithm to work within social. And now we just apply new API sets to it. And sure enough, crypto is a perfect bazooka shot at where we can go. But we do stuff on these sentiment ranges that are usually about a week out. We can get a little bit longer when we look at long-term data when it's big projects like an XRP, which gives us a little bit more runway on understanding sentiment and amplification. And then we apply that against, not stock to flow, but we apply that against things like money flow into and blockchain level data. And that, when you mix those two, man, you have a cocktail that is made in heaven. It's perfect for being able to analyze a trajectory for a project. So the way you get that is right here and in the Diamond Circle. So again, make sure October 7th. We will catch you guys next time. If you want to hit me up on Twitter, it's just @PaulBaron. See you soon right here on TechPath.